My parents threw me out on Christmas Day. Please stay with me as I tell you my story. Don't forget to like, share with your family and friends, and subscribe to this channel for more stories. Now back to my story. I stood on the porch, red gift bags in hand, snow flurries dusting my curls. My fingers were freezing, but it wasn't the cold that made them shake. It had been 6 months since I last stepped foot near my parents' house. Mama called me last week, saying they wanted to start fresh for the holidays. I didn't believe her, not really, but some small part of me still hoped this was a peace offering. The door opened. My sister Candace raised an eyebrow. "You came," she said flatly, then turned and walked away without another word. Inside, the warmth of the house felt forced. Laughter floated from the dining room, but it evaporated the second I stepped in. A few heads turned. Most looked away. I set the gifts down by the tree. Thoughtful ones, I'd spent days picking each of them out. No one even noticed. Dinner was quiet, at least for me. Every time I tried to join a conversation, it ended abruptly. Candace led the charge, like always. She never forgave me for missing her engagement party last year. Not that she ever asked why I stayed away. Then my father cleared his throat. "You got some nerve showing up here." I froze. "You left this family," he continued. "You chose your little candle business over real responsibilities. Now you want to play happy daughter." Dad eyes dawned at me. "You made your bed." No one said a word, not even Mama, not even Auntie Sheila, who used to braid my hair every Sunday. "Maybe it's best you go," he said firmly. So I stood up, my pride burning in my throat. No one stopped me. Outside, snow blanketed the sidewalk. I looked back once, then walked away for the last time. Something broke in me that night, but something stronger began to grow. I didn't cry that night. Not when the door slammed behind me. Not when my boots crunched through the snow back to my car, parked 2 blocks down. Not even when I sat behind the wheel, staring at the house that no longer felt like mine. Instead, I drove, past the flickering Christmas lights, past carolers and cozy homes filled with love and laughter. None of it pierced the silence that had settled in my chest. Back at my apartment, I dropped the untouched gift bags onto the floor. The quiet was heavy. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat in the dark. I thought of Candace, of how she used to sleep in my bed when the storm scared her. I thought of Mama, who used to sneak cookies into our room on school nights. I even thought of Dad, stern, proud, impossible to please. I used to wonder what I had done so wrong. Why the shift started when Candace turned 13 and decided I wasn't her sister anymore. Why I became the family disappointment just because I wanted different things. They said I was rebellious. They said I was selfish for not following the plan. College, marriage, church, babies. But I never asked them for a dime. I built my candle brand from scratch. Late nights blending wax and oils. Early mornings at farmers' markets. And despite the rejection, I was proud of what I had made. Still, being thrown out on Christmas Day hurt, in a place I didn't know existed. Because I hadn't come to fight. I had come hoping, foolishly, for healing. But that night, something settled deep inside me. A promise I whispered to myself in the dark. They don't want me in that house. Fine, one day, they'll wish they hadn't shut the door. New Year's Eve came and went, and I didn't hear from any of them. No apologies, no explanations. Just silence, like I'd never existed. But while they forgot me, I remembered everything. I buried myself in work. My small apartment smelled like lavender and sandalwood, filled with the soft crackle of drying wax. I'd been running Tasha's flame out of my living room for almost 2 years. But now, I was determined to turn that spark into a fire. I revamped the website, paid a graphic designer to give my labels a high-end feel, partnered with a few boutique stores downtown. My days blurred into product shoots, packaging, late-night shipping runs, and early morning vendor meetings. One day, while restocking a local shop, the owner pulled me aside. "You've got something here, Tasha. People love your candles. Ever thought about scaling up?" I laughed. "With what money?" She smiled. "Ever heard of the Urban Women's Small Business Fund? Applications close next week." I stayed up every night preparing my pitch. Business plan, inventory charts, customer testimonials. I even added the photos of me vending at markets in freezing weather, smiling through rain and rejection. 2 weeks later, I got the email. "Congratulations, Tasha. You've been selected as one of our grantees." I screamed, alone but triumphant. $25,000. Enough to move out of my cramped apartment and into a real studio space. Enough to scale. Enough to remind myself I wasn't the girl they painted as a failure. That night, I stood in my empty living room with a lit candle in hand. The scent, my signature blend of rose, vanilla and cedarwood, filled the air like victory. They may have thrown me out like I was nothing, but I was about to become something they couldn't ignore. The day I got the keys to the studio, I walked through the space twice before I believed it was real. Exposed brick walls, tall windows that welcomed sunlight, a tiny back office with just enough space for a desk and vision board. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I painted the walls soft cream, rolled in steel shelves, and ordered my first bulk shipment of wax and fragrance oils. Every corner held a piece of the future I had built from broken pieces. I worked like a woman on a mission. Orders doubled, then tripled. One of my reels went viral, me pouring pink wax into heart-shaped molds, with a caption that read, "Healing smells like rose and revenge." Customers flooded in, and so did attention. A local lifestyle blog did a feature on me. From family fallout to fragrant fortune, the candle queen of Atlanta. Guess who read it? Candace. She left a comment, one of those vague, backhanded lines. "Wow, you really made something of yourself, good for you." I didn't reply. 2 weeks later, Mama messaged me out of the blue. A picture of Atasha's flame candle on her kitchen counter. No words. I stared at that picture for a long time. Was it peace offering, guilt, pride? I didn't know, I didn't ask. Instead, I threw myself deeper into growth. Booked my first booth at a major Black-owned business expo. Hired 2 part-time staff. Started experimenting with seasonal lines, holiday hurt, scorched memories, Sunday peace. Each scent was a story. Each story was mine. But the twist came when a realtor walked into my studio, one quiet Thursday. "I don't want a candle," she said, holding up her hands, "but I do have a listing. I think you'll want to see it." She slid a photo across the counter. It was my mother's house. I stared at the photo the realtor slid across my counter, heart hammering. There it was, Mama's white brick house with the navy shutters, and the porch swing I used to cry on. The place they threw me out of on Christmas Day. "I thought you might recognize it," the woman said gently. "It's going on the market next week. Divorced couple, ugly split. House needs some love but the bones are good." Divorced. I hadn't heard. Candace and Terrence were always smug in their illusion of perfection. Matching pajamas every holiday. Filtered family selfies, big Sunday dinners. I guess it was all performance. "Are you interested?" the realtor asked. I didn't answer right away. I was trying to steady my breath, my heart. This wasn't just a house. It was the scene of my most painful memory. It was the place where I was made to feel like less than nothing. But now I had capital, credit, confidence. And just like that, the little girl who had been tossed out into the cold on Christmas Day whispered to me from deep inside, "Buy it." I scheduled the viewing for that Saturday. When I stepped into the house, it hit me like a wave. The scent of lemon wood polish still lingered. The walls were the same dull beige, but it felt hollow, like their presence had drained out, leaving behind only echoes. The realtor talked specs and upgrades. I walked straight to the room I used to sleep in. The door still creaked the same. I made the offer 2 days later, below asking. In cash, my attorney handled the paperwork. 3 weeks after that, I got the keys. I had bought the house they threw me out of, and not a single one of them saw it coming. I didn't announce it right away. I painted the walls, changed the floors, tore down the dusty curtains. Every brushstroke felt like a declaration. I'm not who you left behind. Once the place felt like mine, I planned something simple, intimate. Just close friends, neighbors, and loyal customers who had watched me rise. The invitation read, "New beginnings, a celebration of healing, hustle, and home." No last name, no address, just a QR code for the RSVP. Word travels fast in family circles. By the time Candace saw the Instagram post of me cutting a ribbon in front of the freshly painted door, it had over 10,000 likes. She called twice. I didn't answer. Mama texted simply, "Is this real?" I left her on read. The party was a hit. Laughter poured from the house that once echoed with silence. My old room, now a home office, was filled with photos, candles, and joy. I stood on the porch with a glass of champagne, soaking it all in. This wasn't revenge. It was redemption. They didn't just throw me out of a house. They pushed me into becoming a woman who could buy it back and build something better inside. It was a calm Wednesday evening when I heard the knock. 3 slow, uncertain taps. I wasn't expecting anyone, curious. I looked through the peephole. Mama. She stood there in a plain coat. Hands folded, eyes tired. The last time she stood at a door, she told me to leave. Now here she was on mine. I opened the door cautiously. "Hi," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "Hi," I replied, guarded. She glanced past me into the house. Her eyes paused on the new walls, the cozy lighting. I saw the photos online. She said, didn't want to believe it. Yet here you are, I said. I'm not here to fight, I wanted to see you, and the house. She hesitated, then added, I know I failed you. Tasha, I didn't protect you, I didn't listen. I stayed silent. My heart beat louder than her words. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Her voice cracked. I studied her, the woman who watched them throw me out. The woman who didn't defend me. But she looked different now, smaller. Not the towering figure of my childhood. Just a woman carrying guilt. I stepped aside. Come in, just for tea. She blinked back tears. Really? For tea, I repeated. She walked in slowly, almost like she couldn't believe it. And somehow, my house felt lighter. Mama sipped her tea quietly, her eyes scanning the living room. I could tell she wanted to say more, but didn't know how. I didn't push. I wasn't doing this for her comfort, I was doing it for my peace. We sat like that for a while, silent, still. Then she asked, have you seen your sister lately? I almost laughed. No, she made it clear I wasn't welcome in her world. Mama looked down at her cup. She's been the same, stubborn, proud. Cruel, I corrected. She didn't argue. I used to wonder what I did to make everyone turn on me. I said, but I've stopped carrying that weight. I didn't deserve what happened. Mama nodded slowly. You didn't. That felt like something. But then she said, you know Candace. She's just hard to reach. She's been through a lot too. I set my cup down, and so have I. But I never threw anyone out on Christmas Day. Silence again. I waited for Mama to say more. Maybe defend me. Maybe say Candace regretted it. Maybe offer an apology on her behalf. But it never came. Just another sip of tea and a sigh. I should get going, she said after a while, setting her cup on the table. I walked her to the door. I hope we can talk again, she said. We'll see. She left quietly. I closed the door and leaned against it, breathing deep. I realized then that not every story ends with a grand apology. Some people never say sorry. Some people never change. But I had. And that was enough. It was mid-December, and for the first time in years, I was genuinely looking forward to Christmas. Not because of the decorations or carols, but because I was finally at peace. My new home had become a reflection of healing. Quiet, warm mind. I had already planned a small dinner with close friends, people who had become more of a family to me than the one I was born into. No drama, no expectations. Then, on the morning of December 23rd, an envelope slid through the mail slot. No return address. Inside, a simple card, gold trim. One sentence, written in familiar handwriting. We'd love to have you join us for Christmas this year. It was signed, Mama and Candace. I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't an apology, it wasn't an admission of guilt, but it was something. A door cracked open. I texted Mama, thank you for the invitation, I'll think about it. That night, I lit a candle by the window and thought back to the Christmas they threw me out. How I stood on the porch shivering, suitcase in hand, heartbroken and abandoned. And now, 2 years later, they wanted me back. But I wasn't the same girl. I didn't need their invitation to feel whole. But maybe I'd go, not for them, but to show myself how far I'd come. Maybe closure doesn't come wrapped in apologies. Sometimes, it's walking into the same room that once broke you, and standing taller than ever. Christmas Day arrived with a quiet chill. I wore a deep green dress, simple, elegant, nothing flashy, just enough to feel like me. As I pulled up to my old family home, the very place they'd once kicked me out of, I paused for a moment, my heart pounding softly against my ribs. The wreath on the door was the same one Mama used every year. Familiar, untouched by time. I rang the doorbell. Candace opened the door. Her eyes widened, she blinked once, then forced a smile. You came. I did. She stepped aside and I walked in. The same creaky floorboards. The same smell of Mama's roast and cinnamon candles. The living room was full of people, cousins, uncles, even Aunt Naomi. The air buzzed with cautious surprise. Candace disappeared into the kitchen, leaving me to navigate it all alone. Mama came forward and hugged me. I wasn't sure you would come. Neither was I whispered. Dinner was awkward but quiet. No one dared bring up the past. Candace didn't say much, but she made sure my plate was full. She never apologized. But her silence no longer hurt, it was just noise I no longer listened to. After dessert, I stood up. I have to go. Already, Mama asked. I just wanted to stop by, to show there's no bitterness here. I smiled, but I have people waiting for me. Candace walked me to the door. As I turned to leave, she said softly, you look happy. I am. And I meant it. I stepped into the cold, pulled my coat tighter, and walked to my car, the glow of the house behind me fading. I wasn't the same girl they pushed out that Christmas. I was stronger, and I had bought my own peace, even if it wasn't the kind that came with ribbons and apologies. Please don't forget to share with your family and friends, and subscribe to our channel for more stories.